Gonna we're gonna talk about a few action items, and then we're gonna have a couple of our elected officials speak, and then we're gonna be marching down Greenfield to Hubbard and demanding that Hubbard Drive be renamed, the Hubbard Ballroom here in the Civic Center be renamed, and we're just gonna continue to say Black Lives Matter. So, thank you all so much for being here.
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
People keep asking why this keeps happening. We know why this keeps happening because we've upheld the systems of oppression, of racism and segregation in America for 400 years.
من وساب ميديا
We're standing in front of Hubbard Ballroom. This is one of the reasons why racism and segregation continues in America today. It's 2020. There's a ballroom still after a known racist and segregationist in our city. Do we stand for that? Absolutely not. And that's why we're going to continue protesting and fighting. When George Floyd called for his mama, he called mamas. And while I have the privilege of light skin, of a white passing name, and a child that does not have black skin, I have the duty as a mother to fight for all black children, for all black lives. Yes. Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter!
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter!
We're demanding of our elected officials to rename Hubbard Ballroom and Hubbard Drive. We will not allow our city to continue to uphold and celebrate a known racist and segregationist. I hope that sinks into everyone here today. I thank you all for being here and for taking this stand and for being on the right side of history. Because I don't know where everybody else is today. Because the only thing that's mattering to me today as a mother, as a human, as an Arab American, as a Muslim, is Black Lives Matter. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out here. This is a much smaller crowd than we had last week, but this shows that there are people who still care, who don't see this as just an opportunity to take a photo and post it on Instagram, that we have real work to do. So my name is Sheila Lal, and I am a Dearborn resident. And I'm here to demand structural police defunding by 25%. In my ideal world, we would have minimal need for policing and zero need for aggressive policing. We would fully fund social services in a social safety net from birth to death. Those who serve would feel joy and trust from their community, not fear. And we're not in that ideal world, as the police murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade, David McAtee, Justin Howell, Sean Monterosa, Jamel Floyd, and Raynard Brooks horrifically have shown in the past few months. Police kill almost 1,100 people every year. 24% last year were black. Do you guys know what percentage of Americans are black? 13%, yeah. And in Michigan, police involved killings of black victims are 34% of total police killings. But I also imagine a world where I don't have to intellectualize black death to get non-black people to act. And so we must work diligently to create the conditions for this ideal world to manifest itself. An ideal world where black folks can live their lives without fear of state-sponsored murder, physical harassment, or sexual assault. Reducing police funding by 25% is only one mechanism to build healthier communities. We need to understand what our needs look like and how the police fit into that. Do we need to spend almost $1 million since the beginning of this year on militarized tools targeting bomb dismantling in hazardous situations?
No.
Can we spend that $1 million on elections and parks and public works?
Yes.
Do we need the police to attend to opioid overdoses? Or do we need public health services and training that empower family, friends, and neighbors to administer naloxone?
Yes.
Should the police continue to address domestic violence calls when 40% of police families experience domestic abuse? Or should we invest in community resource centers, sexual and relationship education, and survivor shelters?
Yes.
And lastly, do we need the Dearborn Heights police to act as school crossing guards?
No.
Or can we trust community volunteers to get our children across busy streets? I found that wild that the Dearborn Heights, police department are asking for more money to act as school crossing guards. We do know that investing in mental health, housing, youth development, and living wages stabilize and make communities healthy, and that they're more effective investments than policing and incarceration. So why are we allocating 30% of our city's budgets to a system that does not build 30% of our city's health? The demand for reduced police funding is not an excuse for city budgets to get smaller. It is an opportunity to invest in sorely needed services. We will be holding the city accountable to their budget as a moral document. Dearborn deserves a safer, healthier tomorrow.
Before I start speaking, I just wanted to say that the first speaker's name was Amanda Saab.
Yeah.
All right. So hi everyone, my name is Nasreen, and thank you for everyone who came out last time and also for everyone who today is their first time or continue to show support. I'm going to mainly reiterate what I said last time, also because change doesn't happen at one time, and here I'm going to quote our brother Malcolm X in his autobiography where he said that he learned at a young age that if you want something, you better make noise and continue making noise, because change doesn't happen just by showing up at one protest or just by naming a list of demands. We have to keep asking for what we want our community to do. And so ultimately, racism is not a trend. We see this happening all across the news, but it also, we don't have to look far from home to see racism in our own community and to see police brutality. And so again, we are demanding for an establishment of an adequately funded community oversight police board that cannot be weakened or connected to any police unions, because we need members of the community who are actively doing oversight over what happens in police departments. And so this involves overseeing any reviews of police brutality and ultimately continuing to give feedback to police officers to create that community interaction. Because ultimately it is time for Dearborn to be made safer for our Black brothers and sisters, because ultimately no one should have to fear for their lives in the city. And you know, we wanted to rename the overall Hubbard Ballroom and all these places that were named after a racist mayor. And we were talking about in a group about any Black person, you know, in Dearborn that has, you know, been a part of, and the reality is there hasn't been, and that is because Dearborn has been unwelcoming and there has not been any ultimately leadership here, and we have denied that. We have not allowed them to come in here and feel welcome, and so that all has to change, and that begins with all of us here. So thank you.
Woo!
Hello everyone, my name is Bilal Hamoud. Thank you all again for coming here today. Your presence is a sign that this is working. This is working towards a solution that we desperately need for our police departments and our government to work, not only for us, but for Black lives. Because whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
That's right. And in our state and in our country, it is still disproportionately weighted against Black lives. We have arrests and ticketing and murders almost triple that of the African American population in our state. 14% of our state is African American, and yet 50%, half of our people, are arrested and are ticketed and are disproportionately treated by the police. Now, in Dearborn, we have FOIA'd the institution. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, FOIA is the Freedom of Information Act, where we can ask and demand for the information that comprise our police records and arrests. So we have, because it's not being provided for us, FOIA'd the police department for the arrest rates and ticketing rates of our community. We want to know over the past 10 years, what does it look like? Because we know it's disproportionate. We know that Black lives matter. And we know that that's not the case here in Dearborn. They are not being treated fairly. They are being ticketed disproportionately. And Black drivers are afraid to come through our own city because they're being treated this way. So we have to work towards holding the police departments accountable and ensuring that transparency isn't something you have to demand through an official form, but something that's willingly provided, so we can work towards a solution. Thank you all for coming here today.
If any of the elected officials would like to come and say something, this would be the time to do it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
It is an honor and a privilege to be here today amongst you. I just want to give you some context. William Ferguson was the first African American to enter into the state capitol, and we have been sending African American and blacks to the state capitol for a million years to fight for the injustice that are systemically attacking black people in this state. What I want to just tell you is that I am very honored and privileged to serve in the state legislature on the behalf of the city of Dearborn, Detroit, and Melvindale. And let me tell you, these past weeks have been very trying. We will continue to fight to make sure that there is policies in place to make sure that there is an accountability for the police departments as well as for systemic injustices that are impacting black people with housing, water affordability, and other areas. I am so elated to see so many people standing up for what is right. And we have been standing up for many plus years for what is right. But it is a time in our country, in our world, that things must and shall change. They must and they shall change. Say it with me. They must and they shall change. Yes, and we will continue to make sure that Black Lives Matter, because until there is justice, if there's injustice against one of us, there's injustice against all of us. So thank you so much for all you're doing out here in the city of Dearborn.
Good afternoon. You know, I'm going to keep my words short. I was here last week, but I think there are just 2 points that I'd like to make. You know, often in the media, we're hearing that this is a battle between the right and the left. But the reality is this is a battle for justice between right and wrong. And I think we all here understand that this is not about partisan politics, for justice has no party. Justice is of a people, and all of us are fighting to ensure that black lives see justice, the justice that they are struggling to see for over 400 years here in this land. And the second point I want to make was I had the honor and privilege of going down to Selma and down to Montgomery. And while I was there, I had the ability to walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, but also make my way to Montgomery and be reminded that the Montgomery bus strikes lasted for over 1 year. And that sustainability is what brought about the change. Now, last week we had several hundred individuals who came and protested. This week is a smaller crowd, but we have to maintain a presence. We have to be vigilant. We have to be persistent in order for us to see the reforms that we're asking for actually enacted. If there is no persistence, there will be no reform. They will think that we're a one-time protest and then we dissipated. But that can't happen, because we know that until Black Lives Matter, no lives matter. So say it with me, whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
And I'm honored to be walking with you all today, so thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erin Burns. I'm a resident of the city of Dearborn. I'm honored to serve you as a member of City Council. I want to start today by thanking and recognizing our organizers. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you, guys. As Representative Hubbard said, I think it's so important that last week's event was not just a one-off. We're all here today. We're standing together to say that Black Lives Matter, and we're here to demand justice, transparency, and change. That is what we must be doing, and we have to do it together. And in order to create change, we have to have not only sustained dialogue, but sustained action. And so I want to reiterate something that I shared last week with the folks who were there. This year in February, fittingly in Black History Month, I brought forth a proposal to council that was fortunately passed unanimously. It was a naming and renaming policy with regard to our city facilities. So I want to share with everyone, we are in the process of taking Mayor Hubbard's name off the ballroom. That is happening this summer. But of course, we know that that's not enough. We're marching today down and towards Hubbard Drive. We have Hubbard Manor East and West. We still have roads and facilities in our city that carry the name of a known racist and segregationist and put him in a place of honor. That has to change. So what I would invite everyone to do, beyond and in addition to being here today, please come to our City Council meeting this Tuesday at the Dearborn Administrative Center at 7:30 p.m. We need you there. We're pushing to expand our definition of public safety to include more than just police. We know it has to include mental health, public health. We need people to have access to essential resources. We're pushing for that. We're pushing for more transparency. We need you there. We need your voices, we need your energy, and we need your courage, which we know that you have in spades. So please come to our meeting, wear your masks, social distance, let's all continue to be safe and be smart together. But again, let's continue to work together towards creating the change that we want to see. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Kiara Scott. I'm from Detroit, and right now I'm a law, justice, and social change major at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. But I started my journey right here in Dearborn at Henry Ford. And when Nazarene asked me to speak, I said no problem, because I've been Black my whole life, and I've been going through these racial injustices and implicit biases my entire life. And I wish I could stand here and say that I'm not an angry Black woman, but I am, because I'm tired, okay? I'm tired, and that's why I'm here, because I have to be an example to my daughter in the world that I want her to live in. For far too long, we have been treated as second-class citizens, and we are all citizens of this United States of America, and I'm tired, okay? Coming from a family where my uncle did 20 years for some crack, and a pedophile can get away with probation, I have a problem with that, okay? I have a serious problem with the way everything in this whole entire country, every single system is set up for my people to fail. I have a problem when my child goes to school and she can see the difference in the funding that is put into a school with children that's had everything their entire life and children that has never had anything, and you're not giving them a chance at life. And I'm just tired of it. And our lives matter. We matter. And I'm just so thankful that everyone out here is just so supportive, because for so long we've carried this burden by ourselves. You know, and I just love the fact that social media and technology has brought us together in a way like never before. And I just have so much respect for all of you, and I thank you for having enough respect to understand things that you don't have to care about. Because, like you said before, an issue with one person is an issue with everyone. So I just want to say thank you.
Okay, everybody. My name is Hubbard. Before we start, we'd like everybody. We're gonna walk, but before that, let's all take one moment of silence. Please think about what we're doing here today, and that Black Lives Matter every day. Thank you. Now, to reiterate the points, because I do want to support these young activists that have done everything up here, the steering committee of Dearborn for Black Lives, to reiterate the points and the demands that we're making of the city. Number one, of course, as Bilal said, to be clear again, this group is demanding information from the police department on arrest rates so that we can then report to the public any discrepancies that are happening, because they don't tell us on their own, obviously. So we're going to be doing that work, and if that takes us 1 month or 6 months, we're going to be doing that together and reporting to the public. You heard also Nasreen talking about citizen-led councils. They need to be overseeing these things. Police cannot police themselves. We see that doesn't work, and we're going to be fighting for that as well. And Sheila talking about defunding the police down, let's not, people are going to try to distract you and get it twisted. Sometimes even people who are liberals or in the Democratic Party tell you that defunding police means defunding 100%. That's not what we're saying. We are talking about reallocating some of the resources that go to police to go to things that are much more effective and will lead to more safety of citizens. And then, of course, as Amanda said, if Hubbard's statue is offensive enough to be taken down over there, then it doesn't belong anywhere in the city. And we're going to make sure that Hubbard's name is taken down from everywhere in the city. And to the elected officials that are here, you're on notice. We're going to be coming to you and making sure that we keep pushing that every day until it happens. And so we're going to walk down Hubbard Drive today. Adam, right here, is going to be the leader of the march. We are going to walk first to that stop sign, and then down to down Michigan Avenue to Greenfield, up to Greenfield, over Hubbard, soon to be renamed Hubbard Drive, turn around and to Mercury, and then come back down, and then back down Greenfield and end up back here. Okay? You guys ready? No, are you ready? Let's go. No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
One more thing, there are bottles of, I suggest everybody, especially if you really need it, take a bottle of water. There's water here and water there. I think we have enough for everybody. Take one bottle of water at least for the walk. Yes, we have a few extra signs over here. While everybody is listening, we are walking on the sidewalks, not on the street. We will be walking down the left side of the streets, against traffic, left side, sidewalks, wherever we are, okay?
أعزائي المشاهدين، ابقوا معنا طبعا بعد ما خلصت الكلمات المحتجين أمام شرطة ديربورن في مدينة ديربورن ولاية ميشيغان. وطبعا راح تبدي المسيرة حاليا على ميشيغان وبعدين جرينفيلد إلى هابرد، وبعدين راح يكونون يرجعون إلى مقرهم اللي انضبط. وساب تي في شو الأخبار.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace! No peace! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Hey, ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey.
Hey, hey!
Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. These racist cops have got to go.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter. 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 Black lives matter.
No peace! No justice! No peace! No racist! Police! No racist! Police! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No racist! Police! No racist! Police! Say his name! George Floyd! Say his name! George Floyd! Say his name! George Floyd! Say her name! Breonna Taylor! Say her name!
آه